So as I like to say, not only girls, but also women, because we have the impression that, when girls, we push them up and they try a little bit, then they get stuck and stop there. By the way, they're already women, and then you find them just finishing their PhD and stop there, or entering a new career, and then they didn't move anymore. So that's why I always intend my talk to girls and women. We all need to move forward and get something done and get a gap filled. So, what am I going to talk about today? So, well, let me present myself. Probably you know it already from the flyer. So, I'm Judith Benundo. I'm a a senior immunologist. And what am I going to talk about today is why having to talk about girls and women in STEM. Why? So why should we talk about it? And what are the reasons why girls or why we having this gap, you know, and how to step forward despite the fact that most of the handicaps are tough, and I really acknowledge this. So then I wanted to show you a little part of my own part of career, the difficulties, and how to come over. Although it's difficult to answer that question because the difficulties are ongoing. It's not that you have a difficult time and you stop and then everything start going well. Then I wanted to talk to you shortly about the specificity of Africa as a working environment. It's quite something on its own, right? So, and also something that we tend to ignore when we enter science is the place of spirituality. Not, don't say that it's because I'm coming from Benin, but it's because it's very important. I don't think Benin is much different from Nigeria. But we're talking about one place, one place of play, which is West Africa. Yeah. So what's the place of spirituality in science and career? So that can be really challenging, right? Okay. So the first thing is why having to talk about girls and women in STEM? Well, you know the answer because you get already a lot of talks. So the simple sentence is that there are a lot of gap in any area you go in STEM, science, technology, and engineering and mathematics. You find a lot of gap. I give you one example, one simple example. It's not even in Africa. Okay, so maybe I start with the example in Africa. I have two girls. One of them decided to do mechanical engineering, or industrial mechanics, something like that. So we start looking for college to receive her. So when we finally find one in Africa, there were just two girls, and in 25 peoples. So you see, this is a gap. There is a real gap, right? So and then so we thought, oh well, there are not a lot of people here in Africa doing this. So we moved to Europe, and in Europe it was even even worse. There were 43 children in the classroom, and she was the only single girl. So the gap is really, when is really permanent and everywhere when you look into stems. Yeah. So this is the reason why we're talking about this. Why all these gaps? Well, okay. So then I have another girls, not my direct children, which is going into mathematics. Yeah, and also there's a lot of gap. So because she's doing mathematics. Oh, why do you really want to do mathematics? Why for? And what for? And then, yes, she's maybe 5 girls among 100 or something like that, students. So these are the real things. And we think that if the girl don't want to go into technology, into science, hard science, into math, that's not a problem. That's not going to be an issue if the girls don't want to do it on their own. I always like to make this difference, yeah. So, but if they want to do and they're not achieving this. Okay, if they want to do this and they're not achieving it because of external reasons, then that's where there is a problem. Yeah. So let me see what I can share once.
I will read a brief introduction, information about you, and then we can start with your presentation. I just want to welcome all to the episode of the STEM Girls Talk Show, and I welcome Professor Seminau Judith Givinodon. Sorry if I am reading wrong your name. Thank you so much for your participation. We are very happy and glad to have you here. We are here due to the efforts of the African Girls Empowerment Network. Our guest today is Professor Judith. She has a PhD and associate professor in immunology, head of the laboratory IMIA at University of Obomey, Calabi, Benin. She is a co-founder of the Women Advanced Forum for International Research and Academia, WAFIRA, in 2015 and organized its subsequent years in Benin. With a bachelor's degree in biochemistry, a master's degree in biochemistry and a biotechnological engineering, and a PhD in immunology, following her passion, she embraced a career in fundamental immunology and methods development before focusing on applied immunology, for which her background has been of great use. Working throughout exclusively in health research questions make her an experienced senior expert in the field of immunology. Fully independent, she has significant experience in high-impact scientific writing, and she has also supervised several master and PhD students, while she was able to manage risk and changes. She led research groups in different settings and established in Bonn, Germany, and later in Cotonou, Benin, an immunology laboratory with a team of master and PhD students. Thank you so much, Professor, for being here. We are very happy to have you as our guest.
Okay, so I was first of all talking about why we have to talk about girls and women. So I was trying to formulate the only sentence that I have as an answer, which is we want to make the gap get filled. And then I was just trying to showcase two evident gaps that need to be filled. But one important thing that I was trying to point out is it wouldn't be an issue at all if women don't want to do STEM. If we're not saying women in STEM because there is none that want to do STEM, that would be no problem and there wouldn't be any issue. But the issue is because we realize that most of the women are not going to STEM because there are external factors that are trying to retain them from doing so. And this is the reason why we talking about STEMs and girls. And I also point out that any time I talk about girls, I always mention women too because of many other experiences. So what are the main reasons? 2011 to 2012, I conducted one study. Um, um, about 5,000 participants. The participants were students, pupils, there were teachers, university and college teachers, and there were parents as well, mothers and fathers. There were also siblings. So all these participants have taken part in the studies that I conducted with a funding that I got from the United States of America, educational sessions. So that study showed many points that could be tackled if we wanted to fill the gap. So the first reason why girls will not choose to go into STEMs were parents. So parents want the girls to have a classical path, and this classical path include getting married, have children. Don't be over-educated, because if you are over-educated, you have less chance to be married. So then we have the environment. The environment were playing a most important roles. The environment were siblings. They were also still parents, not the first place parents. And then the most striking result for us has been to find out that teachers were consisted of the third reason why girls will not go into STEMs. So these are the main factors. The most striking factors were parents, and then the environment. So these are external factors, you know. Most of the girls or most of the women that we know today as more successful have gotten parents that have been supportive, or they have got environment that really push them to question themselves and go ahead in their studies. These are all things we found out, and that's why we understand that if we achieved filling the gap in our way, we have the responsibility to help others to come out of the external reasons. So that's why we're doing this. And I've been engaged into girls in STEM for the past decades. So, the most important things is, first of all, why to go into STEMs as a girl. Just because people said there are no girls in doing STEMs, we also going to go into STEM. If you go that way, you will fail. So the most important things is to build up on your own talents. Your own talents. You can't go into STEM if your talents are into something else. So my approach is not to encourage every girl to go into STEMs, but to encourage girls that have talent, that have the capacity to do STEMs, and that will be otherwise retained from doing STEMs because of external reasons to go into STEMs. So having known now the handicaps and having known why to go into STEMs, and this one is very capital. I don't know who I'm talking to. Are there students? Are there children that just need to go into study? Are there pathway career women? So let me put it that way. It is always possible to go back and question our own career path and see whether it is built up on our own talent. If not, then it doesn't make any sense. So the second point that appeared to be very important for me is men, women, men, women, girl, boy. So when I met most of the girls that we encouraged to go into science, they have the feeling that they were opposing to boys, that they are like rivals to the boys, that they were taking the place away from the boys. Not at all. We're not the same. We're not going to assess questions the same way. Let me put it. I mean, men and women becomes one, or make each of them will be part of one things. If you take one view, if you consider only the view of the man, then you obviously undermining the view of the woman. If you consider only the view of the woman, then you are undermining the view of the man. So both of us, because we all inhabitant of the planet. So the problem of the planet are not solely the problem of the man, but they are problem of both of the genders. So if we leave the men alone to tackle the issues, we have the part of the answer, not the whole answer. So this is a very important point to get. We're not taking away the place of the men. We are just taking our own space. Be aware of that. When going to STEM, you feel more easier. Okay, so the difficulties are fear then from parents, fear from um, from men, and then the most important difficulties, the most accessible difficulty is coming from the teachers, which are not knowledgeable. They don't want, they don't want, je vous rappelle. Yeah, sorry. So the teachers are not knowledgeable. They have habits. They have some habit which disturb the girls, which make the girl fear, you know, because we don't have the same nature. While the man or the boy will be hard or will not mind hardness, we are women, and we don't like, we may not see it, we may not even be conscious of it, but we will not be happy having certain kind of difficulties. We try to avoid them. The second point, or that's already two or three. So the next point concerns the career, the future, the issue. What am I going to do if I study mathematics? As a woman, I tend to see only the good, what I can do to contribute to the wellness or to the wealth of the whole of the human beings. This is me with my woman nature. While the boys or the men just want something specific to achieve in their life, we always want what we want to achieve to be beneficial to mankind. And this is why, for a long time, women will not like to just go into mathematics. What for? To become mathematic teacher? Just be drawing some formulas on the blackboard? They don't like it, and they will not do it. But if you look at mathematics as a part of converting, transforming lives of people, then women will be attracted to mathematics. And that's going to be the same thing in all the STEMs. We will more likely do STEM for different reasons why men will do it. What about my own career? Well, I started as a girl, right? And until the school living certificate, everything was fine. But from the school living certificate, then many people came to talk to my mother. Don't let her go. If you let her go for studying, she will not be able to marry. Well, happy me, My father was a professor. Even my mother wasn't a professor, but she was educated. So she could stand this and help me come ahead. And my father, who told me, oh, you get your school leaving certificate, great, with good marks. But consider this is the start of all things. Can you imagine? You managed to get the school leaving certificate, and everybody was looking at you as, wow, it was so good. And then your father told you, fantastic, congratulations. But just consider this as the beginning, yeah? So, and this is what I'm talking about when I talk about environment. Yeah. So, what is if we teach ourselves to have goals so that we know when we are at the beginning, where we reach the middle of it, and when we reach our goals? So, make your goals plan and make it right. Consider your talent, consider your inner nature, which is a woman. You will never do anything else than a woman. You are a woman, and it's not by looking like a man that we want to do our things right and we want to go up and we can go as up as possible, but it's like doing things as a woman. We have different fine feeling nature, which is very beneficial. And I'm telling you right now about my career, about one of my most important findings. Yeah. So the immunology, immunology is the study of our immune defense system. How do we defend ourselves? How does the body defend himself against the environmental aggressive attacks? How does the body manage with dying cells? How does our body manage with altering DNA, you know, altering cells? So all these are questions that are answered by the immune system, by the immunology. Yeah. So when I started my career as immunologist, I have great chances because why? Because I use all my woman capacities, fine feeling, to discover something that people were not able to discover for the past 10 years that we're working on it. We have fine-tuning feelings. And that's what I used. We don't want to look like men. They have other capacities. We want to use our own capacity. Yeah. So then I got to a very big discovery, which was discovering the human being's derived regulatory cells. Yeah. And that's that's why I could get a very good start into my career, which pushed me as far as we are now. Yeah. Okay, so I got one question here. So let me go quickly through the questions. So I have I spoke already about my field of studies. I started as a biochemist. I studied biochemistry because I wanted to understand how things work, how molecules work in the bodies. So that was my real question. I wanted to help people deal with health questions. But I thought, looking at the medical doctors, they were just prescribing, you know, and they don't even know what they're prescribing because somebody will come to their office and tell them what they have to prescribe when something happened, new molecules. So I thought I couldn't really help by just paying medical doctors. So I wanted to understand how things work. So that's how I go into it. Of course, I got different figures to help me go into that. And yeah, I think I wanted to do STEM for myself. I was really brilliant at school, and up to the school leaving certificate, I was always the major. I mean, the first of my classroom, and I was always very brilliant in mathematics and physics and biology. But because I wanted to help in health issue, I went to biology things. And I remember my professor, my teachers of math and physics, they were really angry because they wanted me to go into math. And I was asking them, why should I do math? Just to become teacher like you and write formulas on the blackboard? I didn't like it. And physics, a little bit. But so that's how I go into STEM, yeah? So I was really brilliant in STEMs, but also in language. As you see, I'm talking to you in English, and I'm French-speaking country. I'm from a French-speaking countries. Although I never learned English apart of what I learned at schools. Yeah, so I was also very good in language. So I'm very brilliant. Yeah, if I can say that for myself. So that's how I got into STEM. So what pushed me into STEM is my goal. I wanted to help in health issue, and particularly because I have the impression that women were left behind. Like for me, I hope there are more women here. Like what I'm as a girl, yeah, like yeah, from 14 to 18 years old, I already have this what you call white lost, and I didn't know why. And I didn't know it's even good for my body. And I was really concerned, and no one could tell me why I was having that. So all these things pushed me into wanting to help, yeah, with health issues. But then I realized that becoming medical doctor will not really help me long. So that's why I do my chemistry, and then from biochemistry, it was obvious for me to go into immunology, yeah, and which I'm really happy doing. So I think I talk about yeah, in my sector the women rates are low too, particularly in biochemistry. People that achieve doing biochemistry can later achieve, when you consider the percentage before entering into immunology, it's very low. After, then you can start having a lot of women because immunology is a very important question. Yeah. So when you were a student, did you feel any peer pressure? Yeah, a lot of peer pressure. But the peer pressure, I can even tell you, a lot of pressure. I talk about it during my introduction. Environment, parent, peers, siblings. These are part of your environment. They will make a lot of pressure on you. This time.
Yes. Professor Judith, thank you so much
Yeah.
for all the introduction and explaining us the objectives of the talk. One question that I would like to ask you to
Yeah.
just to add more information to the things that you have said is we have learned that the percentage of women in STEM careers is very few in almost every STEM field, and we wanted to know if it is the same in your sector as well.
I just answered the question. I've
Okay.
just answered that question. Yeah.
Yes, but we wanted to know like your perspective, like why do you think that this happened, and how do you think that we will like reduce this problem?
Yeah. So I think like the way my talk is structured, I push all these problem and how to solve them in the front door. You know, before starting my own career path, while discussing the challenges. So I talk about what might be the reasons and also how. If you know that the parent can be one reason why you would not go into STEM, you have to have your goal and try to go to find support to go ahead, you know, despite that your parent will ask you, you shouldn't go to STEM because you will not find any husband to get at the longer term, and also because many things, yeah. So I think this is a cultural things that you need to deal with. And what I usually said is, you know, the culture is not something like um, like something that you cannot change. The culture is defined by all the people living that culture at that same time. But this culture will be given, um, what is here? Yes. Please, could you please open your camera? I haven't closed the camera before. Um, Let me see. Okay. So you haven't been seeing me since. Sorry
No,
about that.
We were
we
still saying your
Oh, okay, sorry. Well, so I was saying that, you know, it is very important that we understand what a culture is, because in Africa, we don't go to STEM as a woman because of cultural consideration. Yeah, because we don't want to lose the opportunity to get married, and most of the husbands in Africa want their woman or their wife to be under them. So if you go into STEM, it will happen to you to become too high for anyone you want to marry. And that's wrong. So the culture, we have to take control of our culture and change it to the good and give it to our next generation. In Africa, we forget about that. We forget that. We can change the culture before passing it over to the next generation. That is the most important things. We have to encounter our own culture, love it, help it change, modify the good things in it in order to pass them over to the next generation. If we don't do that, the culture is getting lost forever, because no one will open his own eyes and start walking backward. It's not possible. So if we want our culture to sustain, we have to take modification on them. So that's why you have to identify, oh, this is a cultural mark. We don't want to go to STEM because we need to get married. We don't want to go to STEM because we want to be under the person that we will eventually marry, which is wrong. Yeah. So these are cultural things. Who told you that you can't marry anyone else that you would like to marry? And also, why should you marry somebody who is over or under you? These are wrong consideration. You want to marry somebody that you love and that can love you. That's it. Not somebody that is over you, under you, beside you, or you just want somebody. So these are cultural considerations. And also by our days, women have understand that going to STEM doesn't mean that they will stop thinking about our social life. It is possible to combine them, and we ought to combine all of them. We ought to combine our social life, our social ambitions with our career. This is our new challenge, and we have to face it. We have to get our best marriage done, our best husband, best children to be raised up, and best career. This is our new challenge. And I tell you, you can achieve this if you remain a woman, because it's only we who have the capacity to have the intuition. You know, there is something that we call intuition. The intuition is woman things. And it's because of the intuition that we can tackle different things at the same time, that we can think about good for everything we're doing, and that we can push things forward. We can see ahead, plan ahead, see ahead, and all these things. So
Wow,
it's
thank
so
you so
great.
much, Ma. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. It's quite nice. So you're telling us we as women we need to be subdued to humble ourselves for our husbands, right? Thank
No,
you
I've
so
never said that. How did you get this out of my talk?
much.
No, no,
You
no,
are
no, no,
saying
no, no.
because of your culture, then we have to pass um
This is something from our culture. We have to change it. We have to
okay.
change that. Because look, I will tell you something. You want to be you want to be self, and then you can be self standing and at the same time be under somebody.
Oh, fine.
These are two opposite directions, which
Yeah.
means from right now, from the time you start going to STEM or even doing anything as an independent woman, you don't want to be under somebody. You just want to have equal person to discuss with. Why should your husband think that you are under him?
Mm.
You know why?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ma. Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much. All right.
Are you
Thank
a
you,
prima
Professor.
Martina, or is who is a prima? Abri. Who is Abri?
I am.
Ah, you are okay. Oh, great. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much, Ma.
You're welcome.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you, Professor. Just to end with the talk show, we would like to know if you have like a last advice, and then we pass to the close, to the end of the talk show.
So my advice is that women, girls, have to really take all the possible time to identify and recognize their own talents, and then build their goals on the basis of their own talents. First advice, because this gives you a motivation that none and anything can take away from you. So the second advice is to plan your career. You have to know where you are going to, not by chance. Plan your career and go ahead. Then you will always encounter difficulties, but you have to deal with them. You have to deal with them. Yeah. So the third advice is that is not because you go into STEM that you will not get husband, you will not get children, you will not get the best marriage. You can combine all these. So as long as your choice to the STEM is based upon your talent, you have the chance to push it to the end, to push it to something great. So that's what I want to say and finish probably there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor, for giving such an interesting and inspiring talk show. We have a very a very interesting talk show today. So now, as we are within the end of this talk show, I would like to just show you how you can get involved. You can become a STEM girl. You can become a mentor volunteer. If you want to become a mentor at our mentoring program, you can, Professor. We will be very happy to have you there. In this program, we mentor girls to motivate them and inspire them to reach the stars as one of our main goals. You can also become a partner friend, a donor, and also an ambassador. We have like shirts and another types of products to start with promotion at our social media, and you can can search that type of things at our website, which I will let at the chat box. And also here's our information if you want to stay connected. Um, we are very happy to have you here, Professor, and thank you so much again. So I think it's all for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Dr. Juliet. It's an honor to have you. Thanks for honoring our invitation.
I think she lost connection. But, well, thank you and have a wonderful day. See you next
And you
talk show.
too. Bye.
Bye.